myself Mujeeb Patla. I'm a small-time educationist and I'm available here for a small chat on education and field related to education and the subjects related to education. And today I'm going to discuss 5 parameters which are vital and which will be the constituting elements in a student's life. So we are going to discuss in the coming session like what are those 5 ingredients which makes a student an ideal student, an important student and a useful student and a productive student and a student, a magic student. Take the first case, curiosity. Any student, how they become student? Because they study. How they study? They should be having a proper curiosity to learn anything. It's not like only the textbook they are going to study. There are so many things they can study, like being like how to behave in a society, how to behave to people, how to treat elders, how to deal with situations. These are some general things. It's not like only the students up to 21 years of age or anyone being student. Even we are students in that case. We have to learn it. So we are also students. And we can study only when we are having a kind of curiosity. If we don't have the curiosity, it's very difficult to convince ourselves to study that thing, let alone chemistry, biology, physics and all the complicated equations. So first we should demonstrate our curiosity to study anything. So if we have the curiosity, we can learn anything. We can study things. We'll be interested, we'll be enthusiastic to study. Otherwise it will be like we are just sitting in a seat or anything and we are just trying to mean something which we are not actually is, and we are doing that for the purpose of someone else. Comes the learning attitude. What is learning attitude? Everybody is having different attitude. Learning attitude is actually the willingness to learn from it. Take example of a person who is having learning attitude. He is forced to say abandoned. He's abandoned in desert and he is forced to live some isolated life. So the particular attitude, the learning attitude will make that particular person to adapt to the situation and learn things which will help him to exist in that situation. Similarly, a student, if he is getting into a medicine school, if he is having the kind of attitude, the learning attitude towards the medicine, he will be a better doctor. And even in his later life, he will be very much interested to learn new things, new techniques and new medicines which he can use for consulting the doctors, other doctors and treating the patients, which will be very helpful and which is actually a demand for his job. So for a student, what is learning attitude? Right at the time when he reaches the school, say 8 o'clock in the morning or in the 9 o'clock in the morning, or if it is evening class 5 o'clock p.m. whatever be the timing, when he comes and sits in the class with the right attitude, the learning attitude, he will be open-minded. He will be taking each and every lecture his teacher is giving, with open heart, and he or she will be dealing or will be involving in a proactive manner. So he will be understanding most of the things which is happening in the classroom. It should not be like he is passively sitting inside the classroom and he is feeling like, yeah, I can go back to the home or a room and I can learn from there. It's not the purpose. Why the school, the building, the concept is built? To make or to understand the person. The real studying process should happen inside the classroom. It's not like he has to do that outside the classroom. The process, I would like to say like 80% of the education or the schooling should happen or learning should happen inside the classroom. The next next is motivation, self-motivation. So what is self-motivation? Motivation, to do anything we need to have motivated, and most of the time like what we depend on outside agency or outside agent. Somebody should come and motivate us. Say parents, they come and they always ask like whether you studied for the exam that is to happen the next week or the next day, and we expect some people should come behind us and always they should direct us to certain things, and that actually works as a motivation. Or even like some YouTube videos or say some speeches, we find ourselves that will be useful for us to motivate us. So it may not be the case in all the walks of life. Sometimes it may be like, it will be like we'll be in a situation where we may not find people who comes to us and motivate us. If we start working somewhere or if we are in a classroom, which we will find as very boring, and there will not be people like who will come and they will motivate us. So we have to be motivating ourselves, so we can call that a self-motivated. So self-motivation is very important in the sense like we will be more inclined positive, and we will be moving further without any interference from outside people. Like we will ourselves know like where to go, and even if we don't know where to go, we at least will be tempted to go somewhere and we will be motivated. So always try to develop that particular criteria, self-motivation, which will help us, which will help each and every student to go further, to compete to himself and give results, which will be like if it is A this time, maybe A plus next time. If it is 80% this time, maybe 82, 84, 89, 98. So we can just propel through our career. So always I would like to put the third criteria, the first selfie being the self-motivation. Try to have that criteria, self-motivation. So before self-motivation, we should understand what is motivation. What is motivation is actually a kind of trigger which we find ourselves, or maybe with the help of someone who is standing out. So if we are excited by certain means, just like if we can take an example of an engine, how an engine works, start working. If you are driving an automobile, a motorcycle, you will be trying to start it. So the movement of the vehicle happens with certain triggering inside happening in an engine. So we can take that example here and try to relate this starting, the triggering to motivation. So if we are like a vehicle, we can start by ourselves with our own intention, at our own effort, at the time when we want ourselves to be started. It will be like self-starting. We can call it as self-motivation. So self-motivation in case of a student is just like when we compare, like as we did just before, we are like a vehicle. We can start by ourselves. So student, he can start by himself, he or she can start by himself, and he can or she can go switch different subjects, whichever they feel interesting, and the complicated subject he or she can take, and they can approach like maybe classes, online classes or tuition classes, or any extra effort from the teacher of that particular school. You can go to that person and ask like what are the clarification they need. So self-motivation is actually that self-triggering that should happen to the student. So if a student is self-triggered, self-motivated, nobody should go and dictate that person like you go there, you go here. You'll be like, yeah, he or she will be very much interested to take steps to improve her or his studies. So self-motivation must be a component, a lethal component in the student's parameter, which makes that person a better student. Now the student is having the curiosity, the right attitude, that is the learning attitude, and the first selfie, the self-motivation. So what next? Self-motivation. He is self-triggered or she is self-triggered. Now the vehicle is started. Now the next question is where the vehicle should move, where the student should heading. So that particular person should be self-directed. How to be directed, like what should be the orientation. So finding the right direction is very important. You take the same example of the vehicle. The vehicle cannot go to any direction. It can go only through those ways where the road is existing, right? So same way, the student must understand or must realize the different roads that is existing in his or her career path. So direction. So initially they cannot find the direction by themselves. So the teacher of the school they can take help from, or the outside career consultants, or maybe now because online resources are so plenty now, they can just go to Google or YouTube or any resources, and they can just type like different career options that is existing, or like where to head. But the initial interest, like what is the person made up of, like what is the element inside that person that he or she should understand by himself or herself. So self-direction is also important, just like self-motivation, and self-direction happens after self-motivation. So after getting triggered, now the process is to find the right direction, like where to head. Now after getting the trigger, the vehicle started moving. The vehicle is the automobile or the car, the motorcycle is on the road. Now the next is how well the particular vehicle is moving through the road, whether the particular vehicle or the car is following or obeying all the traffic rules. Similarly, a student life, the person is properly motivated, he is or she is properly directed. Now how well the person is going through the road, so that we can call by the third selfie, self-discipline. So a student, he is learning different subjects, he is interacting with people, he is handling situations, he is having different teachers, different classes, different classrooms, different labs. So all this makes different scenarios for that particular student. Now when the student is going to interact with the different kind of people and different situations, he or she must be very much careful, like how he is handling the situation or the people, because it is not just like he is studying something, but it is like he is actually interacting with different situations, and he is practicalizing whatever he has learned, like social skill, the human skill. Now because the internet life made a person so withdrawn inside a shell, he or she, the student, is not able to understand how to behave a student, and it is like feeling just like how you deal with your smartphone or computer or laptop or iPad or your tablet, like just a passive instrument. You are also dealing with people, but people are having life, they have emotions, and they are more bothered how you are behaving to them. So you can get kind of reflection, like if you are pleasant with them, they will be pleasant to you. If you are arrogant with them, they will be arrogant to you. There will be some sayings, even if whatever with your negative thoughts or negative habits or negative feelings or negative attitude, they may revert positive thing, but you cannot expect 90% of the time sayings in the opposite direction. We have discussed the 5 parameters already: the curiosity, the willingness to understand new things, and the right attitude, the learning attitude, how you're better ready to assimilate those things which you learned, the learning attitude into brain neuron cells, the brain cells, and which will be helpful for you in your future career. Then we related ourselves into an automobile or a vehicle, and we try to understand the 3 selfies of a student life: the self-motivation, the self-triggering, the self-starting of a vehicle, the ability of the vehicle to start by itself, and next 2 it was on self-direction, how to find the right direction by themselves, taking use of the opportunity which is existing all around. And the third, selfie, and the fifth point was self-discipline. How better you are behaving, you are able to accept, obey the traffic rules of life, a student life, how you are better taking all those rules and able to behave yourself, the self-discipline. So these are the 5 points what we have discussed in this session. Wait a minute. So these are the only 5 points, the important points in a student life? I don't think so. We are missing something. Maybe some 2 more points. Yes. The first point being a time management. How better you are able to manage your time. The 24 hours a person got, every individual of this Mother Earth is having those 24 hours. So how better you are clocking yourself to this 24 hours. That is time management. So in a student life, managing the time within this is very, very important. Then comes the second add-on, social skill. How you are able to behave with people who are around you, with you, you are seeing every day. You take your mother, father, siblings, your brother, sister, the bus conductor, the person you are seeing when you are going to your school, the morning walker, the peon, the clerk, the bus conductor, whoever. Everybody is making a sense in your life, and how you behave to these people is actually defining your life. So social skill is the second add-on. The first add-on being the time management, the second is social skill. These two are very, very important. We should be able to develop ourselves on this point too. By starting a discussion on these two add-ons, time management and social skill, I feel like I should stop this session here itself and leaving these 2 points for the next session, maybe in the next class. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe my channel and be available for all the talks, future talks.